thing, or the, something during quarantine, showing themselves workout, and et cetera, et cetera. And this is something positive that's informative. And there's a lot of people.
Absolutely.
All right, we are live.
We are live and in color. What's up?
There we go. We are live. It is streaming. Okay, hey, what's up, Facebook? Sorry, we had a few technical difficulties, so we are 7 minutes late. If you have tuned in to our live stream today, I am super grateful for your patience, but I'm also extremely, extremely excited to be able to have this interview with this guest today. Super fired up, Miss Sakinah Abdul-Jaleel. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I'm excited. I've got like this energy. I just feel like, oh, I can't wait. I don't know what you're going to ask. I don't know how this is going to go. I'm excited. I'm so excited.
I like that you don't know what I'm going to ask, because that's when you get the raw, good answers. So
right. But thank you for having me.
I don't know if you remember this, but the very first time I ever had the pleasure of meeting Miss Sakinah was actually in Dallas, Texas. Now, I want you guys to understand, I had just left my Amway business about maybe a year before, where I really stopped working it. And I was fortunate enough to run into this other gentleman by the name of James Lee, who will hopefully be able to have as one of our guests coming up here soon. And James is an incredible entrepreneur. He had built a business in Singapore, actually like selling like waffles, like waffle cones or Belgian waffles, something like that, and it didn't do well, right? Because obviously the taste for the food wasn't the same or whatever. And so he was looking for something. He had been, successful in the Singapore Navy. He had actually been, recognized by the president of his country. Like, this guy was like top notch. And then he ended up building the platform that you were involved in. And he actually put in 1 million customers in Asia. So this guy had built a huge business. I was lucky to partner with him. And he said, you've got to go down and you've got to go to this meeting in Dallas. He said, there's going to be a speaker there. And I had no idea who was going to present. Okay. And so I get there, and lo and behold, it's Sakinah Abdul-Jaleel, right? And she gets up there, and this thing was called like an RTE or something like that. And she's getting up there and she's doing her whole thing. And you got to understand, Sakinah, I've been around leaders my whole life. Because of my activist background, I've spent time literally with like Geronimo Gijaga Pratt, and I've met and spent time working on events with like Kathleen Cleaver, and I'm saying, like, I've been around like great leaders of our time. And one of the things I know is I can recognize another leader. And so as I was sitting there, what amazed me wasn't just the content that you were able to bring, but it was actually the fact that your entire team from Arkansas came down and drove down in order to support you. And so what I knew instantly is that you had figured out how to create an amazing culture, and only real leaders can do that. And so maybe later on we'll touch on that, but that's when I knew. I was like, okay. And I made sure I ran up and I got a picture. I was like, yeah. So you probably don't even remember that, but I was there in Dallas.
That was an amazing time. I appreciate that memory, and thank you for saying so, especially, to even be mentioned in the sentence amongst the caliber of people that you've been blessed to be in front of. I really, really do appreciate that. And, that was an amazing time, even with losing my voice and all of that during that time. So we had a great time. Thank you very much.
It was all day. And that's the other thing. You and I don't actually remember the other person who was with you that day, but you guys were able to go all day, rotating in and out, and you were able to go pretty much off the top of your head. It wasn't like you had only PowerPoints and stuff like that. And so that's how you know that you had really digested and understood your industry and your business, because you could speak on it fluently without ever having to like refer back. You had real tangible stories from like, last week I was in someone's home and I did this, or, stuff like that. So before we get into all the nitty gritty and all that stuff, why don't you give us a little bit about your background? I know we were just talking, you lived in Lansing for a while. My ex-wife was from there. So I've been there lots of times, great people, but just go ahead and give us a little bit of your background.
Yes, Lansing holds a lot of great memories for me. Boy, thank God it was before internet. That's all I can say. Thank God it was before social media. But I am a mom of 5 amazing children. I'm a grandmother of 4. Now, I was born and raised in Jackson, Michigan, but I moved to Lansing for college. And while I was there, I met and met my husband, now ex-husband, got married. And we had, and together, like literally 4 kids, 4 boys, and left from there. We decided to come down to Arkansas. Who would have thought that? Yeah. But anyway, we came to Arkansas, and that's where I ended up having my 5th child, my only girl. And so life was pretty pretty humble. You can imagine, with 5 kids and all of that good stuff. And I've always been an entrepreneur. I think when I was birthed, probably the words were stamped across my forehead or something like that. I've had some great jobs. I've worked for some great people. I've never had, really negative experiences. There's been some bumps along the way, but there's never been any negative experiences with jobs and things like that. But, I watched my mom work hard, and it's funny, as we're talking about this and I'm thinking about this, my brother and I have one brother who's 4 years younger than I. And so we both, obviously grew up in the same household. And it's funny how different things affect different, your siblings. And so, we watched my mother work very, very hard. She was a single woman for the most part. My dad was that type of dad that was there every single day, but they just were no longer together. So I watched him, work very hard, her work very hard at blue collar jobs, just barely getting by. But I also would see, when I would come home from school, there was a party set up. There was a Tupperware party. There was a copper pots and pans party. There was a jewelry party. There was, sometimes she would sell barbecue sandwiches and grill and make these plates and stuff. And I'm suspecting that that's when things were really, really tight. But, parents are really good at covering up those types of things, so the kids don't really know what's going on. But my point is that there was always something going on. So that let me know from an early age that, yeah, you can work a job, but you can also have something going on the side. And she was the only one in my family that really did that. The rest of my family, like aunts and uncles and things of that nature, they all worked one job for one company for years. And my brother saw the same thing, but he took the gotta work a job road, where I took the, yeah, you can work a job, but, that kind of road. So she really was instrumental in, I guess, giving me the confidence in starting, different businesses and not batting an eye, not even, it never occurred to me to not have a business of some sort.
That's funny, because it's in similar fashion. I never thought that I would work for someone ever for a long period of time, because my mom was an entrepreneur. So I actually remember, it's a true story, in terms of the industry of network marketing. My mom was a teenage runaway. And so she had run away from home. She ran away from California, made it to Los Angeles. The first family that kind of took her in became our extended family, like auntie and uncle, even though we weren't really related, right?
Right.
But that family was very, very successful. And so they lived in like the Black Beverly Hills in Los Angeles, which is called Baldwin Hills. They would come pick me up as a kid in a Rolls Royce, the whole nine. Right? But what happened was, my auntie, she started in Amway.
Okay.
And so when I was like 3 years old, because I've always been able to take vitamins without drinking water or anything like that. And back then, the vitamins for Nutrilite were like horse tablets, right? And so they would do this presentation and stuff at the meeting at the house. And people would say, hey, look, you're successful. I want to do what you do. I love this business concept, but there's no way I can take that vitamin. Right. And so then they would be like, okay, no problem. Hold on one second, because that's just an excuse. Hold on one second. And they'd say, Andre, and here the little 3-year-old would come running out from the back of the meeting. And then they'd hand me a vitamin. They'd say, here's your vitamin. Then I'd take the vitamin, pop it, swallow it, and run back out. And then that's how they close people.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. You are the healthiest kid in the block.
That's how I got so tall, right?
Right. That's hilarious. That's awesome.
So I grew up in the same kind of environment, and I think that really plays a factor in shaping, at least my thought process, because when I got out in school, I realized that a lot of other people had never had that experience, and so they always only thought of having a job, and that baffled me when I went to college, because there was people a lot smarter than me, you know what I'm saying, like in NSBE and all these different organizations, and their only thought was like, how can I work for Microsoft? And I was like, imagine if Bill Gates had thought that, right? Like, how come none of you guys think to become Microsoft? All you want, and it's because they had no examples, but you, I guess, were fortunate and also had an example in that regard.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've never been afraid to try anything. Now I have my fears just like anybody else does. But when it came to, trying something out or thinking of something, I remember when we moved to Arkansas and, I was home. Well, I started homeschooling my kids in Michigan. And that's when it was like illegal to homeschool your kids. Like I couldn't let them go out during certain times of day. It's crazy, but it was fun at the same time, because I like that rebel thing, like you're not gonna tell me what to do. And so when we moved to Arkansas, we moved to a really small town called Center Point, population like 150 people. And I swear 90% of them were my ex-husband's relatives, like really small, tight-knit community. And I homeschooled there. Well, when I was in Michigan, I used to buy these fragrance oils from a local vendor there. And I started having him just, send them down here to me. And I just got the bright idea one day. I was like, you know what? I bet you I could sell these. I bet you I could start a fragrance company. And I didn't know anyone in the closest city was Nashville, which is 5,000 people. So I didn't know anyone there. No one knew me. I looked much different than I do now. I was very, very conservatively dressed, in traditional, I'm Muslim, so very traditional Muslim garb. And I'm sure to these people in Center Point, it was like, what the heck just flew in, And so I just gathered up this stuff, and had my idea, wrote it down, ordered all this stuff and started bottling and packaging and ordering stuff from New York and whatnot. And I literally drove into Nashville and I knocked on doors. I went into laundromats. I went into barbershops. I was like, hey, and they didn't know me. And they, I had to build rapport with them really fast, and long story short, it turned into a really decent business where I ended up having people sell the product for me. And, my oldest son, we had to teach him, thank God it's fine now, but we had to teach him how to drive at 12. He had to learn how to drive at 12 years old because I would, my business had grown and I would have gift baskets and this stuff. And I would be in the back of that minivan packaging stuff up, and he had to learn how to drive because at that time my husband worked during the day. So it was crazy, but it was fun. It was a great experience. So I've never been afraid of hard work and I've never been afraid of just jumping off the ledge when it came to a business.
That's awesome. That's a great story. So when you said something very fascinating, and it's one of the skills of a great entrepreneur, and that is you said you had to learn how to build rapport quickly. And so did you learn that through trial and error? Did you already have some skill with that? How did that come about? Where do you think you developed? That's good because you said the word that I think would frighten 95% of the people that just saw this, and that was you knocked on doors.
Yeah.
Right. Most people don't want to do that. They want to have everybody wants to be an entrepreneur until you got to do what an entrepreneur does.
Hello. Right? Yes. So, and let me paint this picture for you. I was dressed in all black, long black hijab, long black abaya, which is like an overgarment, and pretty much that was it, And so imagine having this show up at your door or walk into the laundromat or walk into the beauty salon and you're in this little town of 5,000 people that have never heard the word Muslim back in the 90s. You know what I mean? So, but it was, I don't know why it didn't intimidate me at all. But I think that where I really gained that skill of building rapport, as a matter of fact, I won't even say think, I know exactly when I did it. I was about 13 and one of my mother's very good friends had a catering business and she needed some help this one particular weekend. And it was for like the Chrysler family. It was like the Chrysler, the car, and it was this big old deal. And it was this big, big deal to her. And so she begged my mother to let me, help serve the food for this catering business. And, she said, I'll pay her $5 an hour. Well, I was 13, I'm like, oh, yes. And so I got on this little uniform and whatnot. And She told me what to do in the trays of food. They would fix it and they send me out with the trays. And I'm, on this beautiful green lawn that looked like a golf course. And I'm, just going around serving the food. Well, I noticed that when I actually had conversations with people for just a few seconds, then people would want more of the food. And then I would get tips. And I was just like, so that let me know that it's not just about being that waiter or that server, just giving people food or just standing there like a lump on a lawn. People like conversation, and so I learned that there. I was a candy striper when I was 14. I don't even know if they have them anymore in the hospitals. And that was a job that was completely volunteer. And so my mother was very good about making sure that I volunteered my time, making sure that I was out and about, because I was very, very insecure in school, extremely insecure, extremely shy. I mean, people that know me are probably like, what? She never stops talking. But I mean, really, really shy in school, painfully shy. And the only time, honestly, that I would come to life is when it was time to sell like the Girl Scout cookies or sell the candy bars and stuff. I don't even know why that was, but I could do that. And my father would take me around in the neighborhood and I would knock on doors and I would, just be comfortable with that. And as a candy striper, like I said, it was volunteer. But when I would go around back then, they had you not only answer the phones and stuff, but they would have us with like a magazine cart that had snacks and magazines and books and stuff. And we would take them around to the patients' rooms and see if they wanted to buy some. Well, when I would have conversation with them, they would give me a tip. And I was like, there is something to this. And I had to do it fast because I had a certain time frame where I had to be through with each floor. So and I also learned, aside from the tips and the money aspect of it, but I also learned that it only takes a few seconds to be nice to people, and you don't do it for the point of getting the money, that's not what the point of it was, but it taught me early on how to build rapport with people fast. And that's basically asking people about themselves, instead of me just talking about myself, because I genuinely wanted to know. And so because of that, that served me very, very well all throughout my life, is being able to build rapport with people very fast, but I know I learned that when I was 13 years old.
It's it's interesting. I also shy. We were just talking about that before. No one believes that now.
Right.
Super shy. But you said something there. You said you asked them about themselves, and that to me hits home. I think what has helped me is that I actually do have a genuine interest in people. You know how people say they don't like people? I actually do like people. I like their stories. I find their stories fascinating. As a matter of fact, my ex-wife, she used to call me, forgive the terminology, but she used to call me a story whore, right? Because I would love to find out everybody's story and what it was, their biographies, what they did. It didn't matter who it was. It could be Justin Bieber, and I wanted to know how did he get famous and this and that, right? So I love that that idea of transferring that love for people and just taking the time to ask them about themselves. So that's awesome. And then you also said it only takes a few seconds to be nice to people, and that's absolutely true. And I think we need that, especially in this time, right? Like there's so many.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. Like really think about what we're talking about. When most people say that, I don't like people, and I joke about it sometimes when I'm doing a presentation. I may say, you may not be a people person, maybe you don't even like people. But what that really means is that, like what I found in my experience, in my 56 years of experience, is that, when you find that there's something in someone that you don't like, that's something that you have to work on yourself, that's in you. And it's like you recognize it, it's like a reflection. And so I'm like you, I've always been fascinated with people and their stories and just, the everyday person. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes people share too much. You can be in the grocery store and you say, hey, how are you doing? And they're telling you about their gallbladder operation. I mean, that just happens sometimes, but for the most part, I believe when you're genuinely interested in that person and you really care, because the thing about it is, especially now with social media, before all this social distancing, it's like we don't know what somebody's going through at that moment. And it might be that smile, it might be that wink, as long as you're not waving to the opposite sex because they think it's something totally different. You know what I mean? But it might be just that, I mean, a smile is free. The brokest person, the poorest person in the world can give somebody a smile. Like that's a charity, to give someone a smile, and it only takes a second. And that smile, that little, how you doing today? And genuinely mean it when you ask, how are you doing today? Not just, how sometimes you can say hi to somebody and they say fine, and you didn't even ask how they were doing. It's like a robotic response,
Right.
I've even done that before. But I think that's the key to having success in anything. You have to really genuinely care about people. And I find that people that say that they don't really like people probably aren't doing they're probably not having as successful of a life as they possibly could. Absolutely. Because of that. And that's just my opinion on that.
Absolutely. All right. So there's two other things that you brought up that I want to touch on. First one was, let's go to that. You said your son was driving at 12.
Yeah.
And that you had him working there. There's nothing wrong with that. I got you. So the reason why I want to touch on that is, so as an entrepreneur, a mom, a wife, all of that type of stuff, how did you juggle it in terms of how you were able to deal with it, but how did you feel about incorporating your children into the business, that type of stuff?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, because it brought back memories of when I was a kid. But see, the thing that my mom didn't do was she didn't let me know what was going on. It's just that I could come home from school and, like I said, it'd be Tupperware or whatever. So I would just see the table set up and the stuff laid out and people would come over, but I didn't really know what that was. You know what I mean? So I wanted them to know, I wanted them to have it embedded in them that, yes, this is what it looks like. You have to put in work. We've got to roll this stuff. We got to package this stuff. And also at the same time, because I was homeschooling them, I didn't want them to feel like that college was their only option. Not that there's anything against college at all, of course not. But I just wanted them to know that, you can have an idea and you can put it in place and you can see it through to fruition. And they see me go through the ups and downs and be tired and all kinds of stuff, or people cancel orders and we show up and then nobody would open the door. They've seen all of that. And I absolutely love it. Even, let me see, my daughter at that time was probably 4 or 5 or whatever. And, I would try to find something for her to do so she could feel a part of it too. Yeah. And so I did. I loved it. And we had to teach Mikael to drive out of necessity, that wasn't like, okay, well, let's teach it. It was like, no, you know what, we got to get this stuff ordered. So somebody's got to drive. You're the oldest. Okay, let's get behind this wheel and do it. Plus it was a rural area, guys,
Yes, it wasn't like Manhattan or something.
No, right? No, not at all. Not at all. But yeah, I did. And here's the other thing too, because they were boys, I wanted them to be comfortable with knowing that a woman can bring in her own income. And that, I made a post a couple of weeks ago, I think, and I said, don't let what a man brings to the table be the only thing that you have to eat. And it's nothing against men at all. I love men. I have 4 amazing men. I've, birthed 4 amazing men. And so it's nothing against them. But like I said before, I wanted them to know that, yes, I want you to take care of the woman in your life, the woman that you marry. I believe in that firmly, that you are the head of the household, you're the king of that castle, she's the queen of that castle. But just because she's the queen doesn't mean that she can't bring in her own income and have her own dreams and her own goals and her own visions, because her vision is her vision. It's not going to be the same vision as her husband. It's nice if it's on the same table and they can, mesh it together. That's great. That's wonderful. That's peaceful and harmony, but they may not have the exact same vision, and it's okay. And you can still live in harmony and have a wonderful marriage and a wonderful relationship. But it's okay if she has her own thing, because don't get me going on this tangent, but I've met so many women, and I still continue to meet so many women that of all ages, I understand when it's older women because of the mentality, but I'm seeing younger women where they won't make a move financially without their boyfriend, or their husband, or when the women are older, they have to ask their husband for permission to pay for this, to buy this, like that. It just like the old movie, The Exorcist, where the girl spun her head around. Like that's what I'm doing mentally when I, when I hear that. And I understand where they're coming from because I know it's a mindset, and it's like, I don't think anyone should have to squash their dreams just for the sake of someone else. Just like I wouldn't expect, and I've seen situations where men, couldn't do anything without the permission of their wife when it came to spending money or, hanging with the fellas. And I've seen that. And it's just like, that's not what I wanted. My marriage definitely ended after 25 years. So you may not want to take marriage advice from me, but 15, what I'm saying
15. So I know it's still fresh for me because it was just December 31st of 2019. So
wow.
So I can relate. I can understand.
You can relate. Yeah. But one thing that I can say for sure with my ex-husband and I, and we're good friends now. It took some time, but we're good friends now. It's been about 8 years. But that was one issue we never had. Like he never tried to squash my dreams, my goals. And I would come up with some harebrained ideas. Okay. Like literally, I was like, you know what? I bet you I could do, because I always believed that I could do anything, like anything, and he would come up with some ideas too. And we supported each other in that, it was no big deal. But yeah, I wanted, like I said, I wanted my sons to see that that's perfectly fine. If you have a woman that wants to create her own thing and do her own thing and have her own success apart from what she's doing or supporting, them as a husband with. So I was all for it. And of course I wanted my daughter to see that as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have a son who's almost 25 and a 5-year-old daughter. She just turned 5 at the beginning of April. And it's very interesting to see the difference, because they say that girls mature faster and stuff. And you're like, yeah, whatever as a guy. But man, it is so different. My son is an amazing, amazing young man. My daughter is on like steroids or something. I don't know. Like she is so hyper aggressive, and she is so like from the beginning. She's like, okay, you guys are in my world, and let's.
Right. You all are here to serve me.
So I love it because I want her to have that. I'm just trying to strike the balance of wanting her to have that confidence, but at the same time listen to daddy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I love you. I love your assertiveness. However, go to bed at 8 o'clock. Right. Exactly. I totally get that.
One of the things too that you mentioned when you were mentioning, you said winking. So you mentioned winking to the opposite sex because they might find something different. And I find this too, is that like when I used to do old school in our network and in our profession, old school kind of the belly to belly, you meet people in the supermarket.
Belly to belly,
it was always a challenge because you don't want that person to think that you're trying to contact them for any other reason than you're trying to do business, right? And so I found that one of the strategies, if I was contacting someone or meeting someone of the opposite sex, I would immediately use, oh, my wife would love your earrings, or something like that, at least so we clear, like that they know. So did you find that that's a challenge for you, like when you go out and you were meeting people? Did you strictly focus on maybe talking more to women, or did it?
I still have people in my DM, okay? Hit me up in the DM. I'm like, really, bro? It's crazy, But the thing about it is this, when they hit you up in your DM, it's almost like, to me, that's taking it to a different level because you're not meeting them face to face, and they don't get to hear that from you. They see a picture, and they say, oh, business, and they want to DM you. I'll address that in a second. But with your question, like, I always have a husband. You see what I'm saying? Like, I always have a husband. My husband is, I'll see a guy in his shoes or his tie. I'm like, oh my God, where did you get those shoes? My husband would love that. Now, I just told you, I have not been married in almost 8 years, but I have a husband, you know what I mean? Because you want to put that up there right away. Like, this ain't for nothing more than just what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build rapport. I'm trying to get to know you. I'm trying to, see if we have a click there as far as business goes. And you have to let them know that. But I also believe too, that it's all about, especially for a woman, it's all about how she carries herself. It's about, as old fashioned as it may sound, it's also about how she dresses.
Mm-hmm.
It's also about the energy that she puts out. So if, you know, some women think that they've got to be all flirtatious just to try to reel the guy in for a business venture. And it's like, honey, that's the wrong move. Like, you'll never be successful doing that. That will work on the short term, but in the long term, when you're talking about building strong, solid relationships that's going to create a $1 billion business, that is not going to work. Now, it'll give you a cheap thrill. It might get you a bonus check, you know, but you know what I mean? It's not going to sustain, because just like, let's take it back to, like, you know, when a man is out there looking, there's a certain type of woman that a man is going to marry, and there's a certain type of woman that a man is not going to marry, but he's going to play with. You see what I'm saying? And the one he's going to play with is not going to be the one he's going to take home to mama and introduce at the family reunion. That's not. And it's all based on how she carries herself, how she projects herself, because there's so much I want to say with this, but it's like, we teach people how to treat us. And so if I approach a man and I'm being all smiling and flirtatious, because we know what we're doing. Women know our feminine energy. We know. We try to play dumb sometimes, but we know our feminine energy.
Right.
And if we put that out there, we can't be mad when he comes on to us like that. Now, you'll have some men that will step the boundaries. They'll just really push it. Sometimes that'll happen. But, you know, if you got, and here's what I'm talking about when it comes to dress. Now, I dress more conservatively, so I'm not saying that. But if you got everything out there, and you got the blouse unbuttoned down to here, and you got the slit up to here, and you got the everything really tight and whatnot, and you leaning over talking about a business venture, honey, he is not thinking about a business venture at all. You know, and it's not okay. It's not okay for him, and it's not okay for her. But somebody's got to be the professional one here. Somebody's got to set the standards and the boundaries. Like, I'm not here to play. I'm here about business. You know, so I'll say I have a husband. I'll say, you know, my partner and I, you know, I'm going to put somebody in there because I want him to know right from jump. This is what this is about. You know, it's not about anything else. And he may have a woman, and he might feel like, you know, maybe I shouldn't even be talking to her because of my woman. So I'm trying to let him know right off the bat, no, this is business. This is straight business, you know. And I do believe that. I do believe that how you carry yourself and that energy that you put out, you know, is going to reflect back to you. So, you know, there are women that have problems with that, and they'll say, well, these men, they think this, but then they're like, oh my God, these men, they think this. And it's like, well, honey, what are you doing? Look at yourself in the mirror, you know, practice what you're saying, you know. And some men too, you know, they'll do the same thing. You know, I've seen men that, you know, put themselves out there because they're trying to flirt around with these women to have a so-called business relationship, and then they wonder why they only got the bonus check and that's it, you know. Absolutely. So it's that energy you put out there.
I find that, especially like on social media, a lot of young men and women use that. You know, men maybe not so much their bodies, more like flashing money or try to create some kind of fake lifestyle, and then the same with ladies. And it does work to attract people that may get in their business, but the people aren't getting in the business for the right reason, so they're not wet sand. Right.
There you go. We want the wet sand. Exactly. And you know, too, what I found that sometimes, because there's some very successful women and men, of course, and they may have started out, you know, like that, but then they learn that personal development and that growth where they were able to decide, you know, I really want to have a long withstanding business here, not just for today, but for tomorrow and for future generations. So that personal development and growth helps them to get to that next level because it changes the mindset, you know. And once you change that mindset and put the action behind it, then there's certain things that you may have done last year that you're not going to do this year, you know, and you're going to attract those type of people. Heck, there's things that you may do, you know, today that you wouldn't do yesterday, because we should be growing constantly every single day and getting better and better and better. So I don't look down on anybody that does that, but I do know that they have some growth. They have to go through some growing, you know, and they have to understand that if you really want to have, you know, a successful business or success in anything, you know, you have to first look at yourself. If what you're doing ain't working, then it's like, hello, clue number one, let me figure this out.
Let me figure this out. You know, one of the things that I came into culture shock, speaking of the previous company that you were a part of, is I came from Amway. Okay.
Right.
So in Amway, it's suits and ties.
Button up
And,
suits
and,
and
and
ties. Yeah.
women are dressed in professional attire. And you know
Yes.
what though? It is actually done that way specifically for that reason,
The
right?
mindset.
So and when I came to and went to one of the first big events, and I saw people like they were going to the club, and I was like, what is going on? And I'm thinking, and I'll be honest, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like if I went to an event with my wife, I love my wife, you
Of
know,
course.
but it was uncomfortable because I'm just like, wait a second, there's just too much skin, like just all over the place in this. And I know the idea behind it was fun and
Fun,
freedom,
freedom. Right.
but I was just like, I was overwhelmed. I was like, this is crazy. I don't even understand this. Like I thought we came to a business meeting, you know, and it was just like. So I was in complete culture shock. I'm not even gonna lie. I was just like, whoa, this is crazy.
Well,
Um,
that's funny that you said it because that was me. Because I used to do, I was in ACN before, and this was like, man, probably 15 years before I got into the previous company.
yeah,
But that's what it was. It was the professional business suit attire, like from everything, even at the events, you know. And back then, like I was a extremely dysfunctional red, you know, just extreme. So like everything was, just point on, so when I got into that previous company, the next company, which was the previous company, and everything was so relaxed, and actually for me it was like a breath of fresh air. But remember, I had been, between the two, it had been about 15 years,
yeah,
so it wasn't like I just came from that company. It was about 15 years, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. But I'm a mom with 5 kids, now my kids were all a part of that. And so there would be times when, because I'm blessed to have some incredibly handsome young men. And there would be times when, some of these females would go up to them, and I'd have to go up there and just like, well, honey, what did you
yeah.
leave your clothes at home? So I understand. I understand.
Let's just put it this way. There wasn't a thing called Amway babies that came out of functions, but there was a whole bunch of there was a whole bunch of the other, there was a whole
Vacay babies.
bunch of
That's hilarious.
babies. There was no Amway babies coming out of going to Dream Night. Let's just put it that way.
Right. That's hilarious.
That shook me up. I'm not even gonna lie. That was one thing I was like, whoa, I am out of my element here. I guess I'm a conservative guy. I guess I don't know.
Right. Well, I'm gonna tell you that whole experience definitely loosened me up, and I had a great time, but it definitely loosened me up. I was like, okay, let me loosen up here a little bit.
So speaking of that, so you have a company, an interior design company. Is that what you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I remember that from when you were here in Dallas. And
Yes.
what got you into that, and how difficult was that to build? And
it was the typical story I think of most interior designers that have been doing it for a long time. I used to rearrange my bedroom furniture. I used to rearrange my furniture, my mom's furniture in the living room.
One second.
What?
By the way, this is just a little public service announcement. If you ever get on a Zoom and you see her doing the Zoom and you can see the design of her house, y'all hire her. That's all I need to say. Because I remember one time you was in like this platinum gray room, and I was like, my God, how do I get this in my house? So anyway, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I was like, what did I say? Thank you very much. I really love design, and I started out, moving stuff around and changing stuff around and whatnot. And ironically, I actually went to college for design and textiles, and I took some business classes in there, and I made the decision to quit. I just dropped out of college. I had some other things happening in my life, and decided to get married and all of that stuff. And at 19, you think absolutely everything.
Sure.
And so I made that decision. I was like, oh, that's not the direction I want my life to go into. And honestly, at that time, I did not want my life to go in that direction. But then as time went on, it was just something that was in me. I also taught school. Like I ought to print out my resume. Like I've done a lot of stuff. I taught school in a private school, 3rd grade, and then I taught 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Loved it. I actually founded. I was a co-founder of this private school that's still in existence today. And so I love that, but what I found was that I was like decorating my classroom and, parents' rooms. And I was just like, okay, let me explore this on the weekends, And so I did. I just started dabbling a little bit, helping some friends out on the weekend. It kind of released the creative juices for me in that area. And then I decided to just go full-fledged and just, start my own business. My daughter, she was with me. As a matter of fact, I think she was, I don't know, probably 15 or 16 years old, and she has an incredible eye. And so I would bring her along on design projects and get her input. And I just literally, I didn't knock on doors like I did with the fragrance company, but I just called people up that I knew. And I said, hey, I'm starting this design business. Do you have a room that you need me to do, or you want me to take a look at? And it was just kind of like that, word of mouth. I did not go back to school to get my degree. I felt like it was pointless, and that was just my opinion. I really felt like it was pointless. I read enough, saw enough, experimented enough to where I thought, I can really grab hold to this. And so I was doing it on my own. I helped, a very good friend of mine, helped her literally build a house. That was quite an experience. I don't mean help physically, but the designing, they brought me in to help pick out the lighting. And the next thing I know, I'm picking out roofing tiles and placement and designing cabinets and all that stuff. And so it was an incredible experience. And one thing led to another. Another friend of mine, insisted that I work for the company that he was working for, and I was just like, no, I love having my freedom. I don't want to work for anybody else, but he just insisted that it was a great company and I would love it. And I thought, you know what, it'll also expose me to a different level and caliber of clientele, And so I thought, why not? Just like I've done with other things, why not? What's the worst thing that can happen? I don't like it. I can move on. No big deal. So I did. And I stayed there for 7 years, learned some great things, like really fine-tuned my skills, met some incredible people, made a great income. And so I've just continued to do it. I can't imagine not ever being involved in design to some extent. I don't want a standalone brick and mortar business. I don't want that. I want it as another stream of income, but on my own time, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
It's not my main focus, even though I love it, but it's just not my main focus at this point.
All right, so that's awesome. That's bringing me to sort of you've been very generous with your time, so I don't want to hold you too long. So you actually said something very fascinating. So throughout the time you've talked about you grow up in an entrepreneurial household, you've learned people skills, you did product sales going door to door, you founded a school, you had an interior design company, and then also we've already talked a little bit about the network marketing company that you were you had built up very successfully, which we didn't talk about that, but you built up a very successful business. Mm-hmm. And then some stuff happened and you had to make a decision. So two things with that. One, what made you make or what allowed you to be comfortable leaving what you had built to know that you could go out and do it again? And then sort of secondly, you just mentioned at the end, sort of the brick and mortar. So you have had traditional entrepreneurial roles and businesses versus network marketing. What do you love about our industry that those others can't provide, maybe, for instance?
I love the profession of network marketing. I absolutely love it because of the people, and you can't really put a price on it. Like, I love it so much that even when I wasn't making any money, I still loved it, if that makes sense, And because I love watching people thrive. I love watching them go from, being really insecure and not sure if they can do it, or even being frustrated, to watching them go, oh my God, I get it now, or watching those things changes. And it's the mind shift that I liked, and it's like the money. I love watching people, take their finances to the next level. But what really gets me going is the mind shift, because once you help a person shift that mindset, you've helped generations to generations, because the mind, once it's stretched, it can't go back. They may leave that company, they may leave what they're doing, but once it's stretched, it cannot go back. And I don't think that you really get that in any other profession other than network marketing, because in order to be successful in network marketing, you have to have two things. One, you've got to have that mindset. You got to constantly work on your mindset. You got to constantly improve yourself. And the second thing is you got to help other people. You know, and I think I posted something on my stories today talking about hands, how, you know, your first hand is for you to help yourself, but your second hand is to help somebody else. And I don't think that there's any other profession that epitomizes that like network marketing. You know, it still blows my mind that we actually get paid to help people who help people. And that's really what you're supposed to do, because when I worked in corporate America, like the last company that I worked for, you know, everything was great as long as everything was going their way. I made an incredible amount of money there, you know, but I also gave up 12 to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week to do that. And, you know, there was no personal growth and development there other than what I knew for myself. You know, there was a lot of you know, and there was, I mean, not always, it wasn't constant, you know, because I made some great friendships there, but there was also, you know, that element of jealousy and envy and sabotage and things of this nature. And you can't really do that in a network marketing company and be successful. You can, because people are people. So you can have those elements there, but you can't be successful. You can still be successful in corporate America, unfortunately, with that kind of backstabbing stuff. It may be temporary, but you can, you know. But like I said before, in network marketing, the profession is emphasized personal growth and development. That's one of the things that was just, you know, embedded in me from the previous company. Great experience when it came to that, you know. And like I said, that's what I really, really love about it. And I never thought, when I first got involved with ACN years ago, that's where I really fell in love with that whole concept, that whole profession, you know. And so just to bring it forward and have that confidence to move on to the next. And I think it's just because it was not an easy decision by any means, you know, it definitely was not an easy decision, but I had to really sit back and not listen to what anybody was saying on the left side or on the right side. I couldn't listen to what anybody was saying in front of me or behind me. I couldn't listen to my kids. I had to get real still and decide what was going to be best for me in my soul. You know, what was I going to be comfortable with looking at in the mirror every single day? What was I going to see? And at the end of the day, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, you know? Right. And if, you know, people that are not mamas and dads out there, it's like, if you're not happy, what is the point? You know what I mean? Like, what is really the point? And so when I made that decision, it came from a good place. And I was happy that it came from a good place because I could think clearly, you know, even though my emotions were still there, but I knew I could think clearly. I knew in my gut that I had made that decision. And because I am a risk taker, you know, and doing what I do now, I would have never thought in a million years that I would ever do anything like this and even be interested in anything like this. You know, I'm not that technical person, you know, but it was more about the people than it was about the product, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I swear to you, I just wrote this down and you just said it. I said, I think the people, one, they don't understand business, so it's very difficult for them to analyze opportunities. That's number one. And so what that means is the moment your friend comes to you with a network marketing business, if you don't own any business at all, you should say yes, because you don't understand the tax implications.
Hello. I don't care if they're selling acorns.
Right. Yes. So you know, because you're a business owner, so you understand it's tax totally W-2 versus business owner, totally different scenario, right? So that's what most people miss. But the other thing too is mentorship, right? And you just sort of alluded to that at the end. And even when you're making that decision to move companies, oftentimes for me, I'm only looking to move if either my mentor is going to look, or I can find equal or greater mentorship. Because mentorship is the secret sauce. It's that vested interest, right? Like when you, because the only way this thing works is that your mentor has to have a vested interest in your success, which means they're always going to give you best practices, right? Exactly. And so that's I think people miss that. They don't understand it.
Exactly. You just said it. You just said it. It's like, you know, it's like sometimes in corporate America, and not just ragging on corporate America, because there's some fantastic companies out there that have really built an incredible culture. Sure. But sometimes what you'll find is that when people give you advice in corporate, it's not for your best interest. It's more usually for them. And like I said, there's always exceptions. But in this, if your mentor or your sponsor or your upline or whatever gives you advice, they're not trying to sabotage you, because if they sabotage you, they're sabotaging themselves, and you have access to everyone. That's what I love. So it's like, in corporate America, if you have a complaint, you have to take it to this person first, and then that person, and then that person, and then that person, and then that person, But here, it's like, if you don't like how something's going, or you have a question about something, you can ask a variety of people that are here to help you along the way. And it still blows my mind when sometimes people are saying, oh, that's one of those things, or, oh, I would never do that. And it's just like, the ignorance is real in 2020. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? Someone asked me the other day, the age old thing, is that a pyramid? And it's like, you better hope it's a pyramid. That's the strongest structure on planet. Are you kidding me? Right. Check out Egypt, check out, like it's right. Everything is in the shape of a pyramid, but it's just ignorance to where they really, truly don't know. So I don't get mad at that question. I might get tired of it. And thank God I don't hear it very often anymore, because through social media, there's a lot of information now out there where people can actually get the facts for themselves, Right. But it's like in this day and time, and with this pandemic happening, I think more and more people are understanding that we now have a new normal. When we get to that new normal, whatever that's going to be, things will never be the same. It won't be business as usual. Right. Companies that, unfortunately did not survive through this. And there's companies that will have a shakeup once we do, move forward and move out from underneath this cloud of this COVID, but we're going to have a new normal. Right. And one of the things that I believe people are understanding now is that, what, I better dig my well before I need the water, Right. Because when I'm out of water, I got to scramble, and now I'm just digging a hole. And right. So now they're much more open to seeing that, what, because our lives change pretty much just like that overnight through voices, through the media. Our lives change because somebody else said, this is what we need to do, and everything shut down, So it's like, hey, people, you better get right or you're going to get left, and we're not getting left. Okay. We're going to make this thing happen for as many people as possible. On top of that,
we also our product is unique in this regard, is that it's the only business ever in our industry, because I'm a student of this thing, that you as a customer, right, you don't have to sell, you don't have to do it. Just as a customer, you can right. make money. And then as a business owner, you can make money for the first time ever, whether you recruit right. anybody or not. Right. And so it makes it so unique. And then when you're talking about recession proof, right? Money is always recession proof. There's going to be no, right? Like there's no way that we're not going to be able to. It's funny. The funniest question I get now, I just got someone hit me up actually about an hour before I got are you okay? Because I know you trade. I'm like, but that's crazy to me, because our financial literacy, but you know what? I learned this back in the day when, you become conscious, so to speak. Yes. And then once you become conscious, you always judge the unconscious, forgetting right. that that you were once that you were there, state, right? Yep. And so, you could become so conscious that no one wants to deal with you. It's like a high-end vegan. Yeah, like I'm vegetarian, but if someone goes vegan and then they're like, and then every time you guys go out to dinner, they're like, oh, let me show you the video of that chicken and this, and it's like, dude, just relax, bro. Like let me have my chicken sandwich. That's not how you're gonna attract me to vegan, right. Or whatever else. Right. Because
you're absolutely right. There is a lot of just misinformation, out there about, our profession. And there's just a lot of misinformation, period, about everything. I mean, there was misinformation about COVID, so we know there's misinformation about business and businesses and things like that. And so that's the beautiful thing, is that you're putting together, you have formats like this, and I feel very fortunate to even, I'm actually honored to even be asked by you to be a part of this, because when you started doing it, I thought, man, this is incredible, because you're giving people an opportunity to just learn about entrepreneurship from real people that are really doing it, unrehearsed, unscripted, just it is what it is, and so you're bringing to them and adding so much value out there in this social media space where people can really learn for themselves and go, you know what, maybe I will look into that more. Maybe I was misunderstanding, or just because my cousin who lived down the street on the third floor of, the building in the alley behind and didn't have success with it, doesn't mean that I won't. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So I appreciate you for putting this together, and thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So the last thing, I promise this is it. Ready? The last one, because I know you say, I'm surprised you asked me, come on, get out of here. So you guys are actually cooking. You guys are actually cooking right now in Arkansas. You guys are crushing it. Every call, it's like a battle between Arkansas and Canada right now. I mean, you guys are going at it, head to head. Popping. You're getting ready to get to that chairman run yourself. You're about to crash through that window there, or that ceiling, I guess. So I'm excited for you, and I can see it, and it goes back to what I started at the beginning when I said that culture that you have created. So if you want to, as we finish up, maybe talk a little bit about that, and also if you want to shout out some of your absolute winners who, what's crazy is out of Arkansas, folks, you might not know this, but they also have one of their team members is named Shannon Stewart. He actually has learned how to trade so successfully. And I don't know how long he's been doing it, but now he is actually on the platform for our company, and he is actually calling trade ideas for thousands of people and helping you imagine how good that must feel, helping thousands of people win in the market, plus the local market there. So tell us a little bit about how you guys are winning and that whole team culture. I mean, you could tell it's a family vibe, and everybody is just excited. I'm taking notes. I'm ready to go.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, the team, in Arkansas, where everything kind of stemmed off from us, is just incredible. And it's really about relationships. It's not so much the practical this to this, like before all the COVID-19 and the social distancing, we would meet up at different coffee shops. Like there's some great coffee shops, Community Bakery, and then Guillermo's, which is our go-to spot here. I miss those places, as a matter of fact. But even before we walked through the doors and decided to meet together there, there was a handful of us, myself, like you said, Shannon Stewart, Clarence Wiley, Daisy Jones, just this core group. And we just decided, okay, let's take, the mistakes that we made, and the things that we learned from that mistake, and let's create an environment that as people enroll, they can learn from our mistakes. Let's create a community here to where we're each inspiring each other to get to the next level and to win in the trading space, as well as into the business side of it, with no regards as to who is on whose team or anything like that. We just really wanted a culture where there was no big me, little you mentality, if that makes sense.
Wow.
And so because of that culture, and just because of having that core group of people that are on the same page. Now, do we always agree 100%? Heck no, just like family, and we have relationships with each other where we can actually talk about things out in the open. And I think that's key, because that's what makes those relationships stronger. Because like you said, Shannon Stewart is an incredible trader. Clarence Wiley, we call him King Crypto. Like, this dude on these charts with this cryptocurrency is a freaking monster beast on these things. Daisy is the one that gels everything together, and she's really leading our training here in terms of helping, new people, how to connect this, how to connect that if they have a question about anything, and it's just been an incredible group of people. And what happens is when you create that environment where you have that trust, we trust each other. We trust each other, whether we're talking to each other every day, or we trust each other with each other's people. I know they're going to take care of my people, like I'm going to take care of theirs. And then that fans out. You know what I mean? It grows organically. So as people come into this community, they feel like, that they can talk to us. They don't feel like, we're unapproachable, we're unreachable. I put my number in the groups all the time. Call me. I don't care who it is. It's like, call me. And so that's really been the key thing. is developing those relationships and doing things together. Like before the social distancing, Rodney Granberry, we call him Shug, but he was one of the people, him and along with Sylvia Ball, as a matter of fact, that would put together our team, our team nights, bowling and different things and eating at different restaurants and just coming together, not talking about business, even though we always end up doing that. You can't help it, but we're just coming together just to have fun. And as we approach the summer, depending on what all happens, we'll do hopefully cookouts. If not this summer, we'll do it next summer, Lord willing. But it's about bringing that camaraderie, having people come together, having them bring their friends and their family around, because it really is a family environment. It's business. We're serious about business, but the most important thing is having those relationships, because sometimes, things are, because here's the thing. When it comes to these relationships that we develop here, sometimes these environments are the only thing positive going on in someone's life. Man. They might be sleeping next to a negative person. Their kids might be ragging on them like, oh my God, you're still doing that trading thing, or whatever it is. It's not just pertaining to trading. There's lots of different companies out there, but right. It's like, if you don't have that positive environment, where are they going to get it from? 9 times out of 10, they're not getting it from their job. Hopefully they're getting it at home, but if not, they have to have a place, where people really care about them, are really concerned. And it's not just about how much money I can make off this person. Oh, if this person's making me some money, then I'll work with them. If they're not, then they're not. Like there's no room for that in our culture. And honestly, that comes from the top down, from what I've seen, because everything trickles down. And so, our team, man, is just kicking butt. I mean, Tammy Washington over there in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. Oh, be still my heart.
Presentation too. She shows.
Oh my God, she is a beast, and she's helping so many people. Like me being a risk taker, this lady left, left America and packed up and moved over to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, right? And she's building an organization from the beach in the United States, and just really being an inspiration for so many people. And it's really because of her heart, and her caring about people, that it reaches across the ocean, so it doesn't even matter if you're right there face to face with somebody, because they can feel you and they know it's real. When you have that together and that spreads around your group of people, you can't help but win. You can't help but win.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much. You said some awesome things. I always was taught that where relationship stops, depth stops in your organization. So your relationships are definitely key. And then you also said something else that was very interesting as you were tying that in. And it was just simply this, is that a lot of times when people are going through something, their natural thought process is, let me pull away from the organization, because maybe they don't want to infect the group with their negative, or they just don't, they're not in a good mood or whatever else. And what happens is, the more often that happens, the longer you pull away, the easier it is for you never to come back. And so what I've always found is that myself, I always need the team way more than the team needs me. And I think people, if they understood that part as well, is that when you're going through a challenge, that's when you need to come around the most, because of that environment that you were talking about. Like when things are good, you can miss a day, right? But when things are going bad, you miss a day, and that leads to 2 days, and that leads to 3 days. You got to force yourself during that time to say, let me come around this energy, because this energy is the energy that's going to uplift me. This is the supportive energy, right?
Right. And it's really a two-way thing, because I think sometimes people forget that, I go through, challenges, or, Clarence Wiley goes through challenges, Shannon, Daisy, all these other leaders that we have on our team, go through challenges. And it's like this is really how I look at it for my own personal self. And whenever I would go through some things and just, I have things like right now, I've got things going on in my personal life, and it's like, I've always asked myself this when it came to having my own business, whether it was in network marketing or, my own design business. Is it enough to make me, if I was working for somebody else, would I not go to work today? Is it that big of a deal that would stop me from going to clock in on a job to go build somebody else's dream, if it would stop me from doing that, because there's some things that will stop you from going to work that day because it's just that devastating, right? But if it wasn't anything that I would not go to work for that day, if I would still go to work to go build somebody else's dream, why would I stop building my own dream just because there's something going on? Somebody over here said something to me that rubbed me the wrong way. This bill popped up unexpected, or the car, why would I do that? Because I know that if those things came about, I would figure out a way to where I better get my butt on this job. So you have to have, in my opinion, you have to have that same mentality because it's yours. So why would you not show up for you if you show up for him?
Wow.
You know?
Man, let me tell you, I can't end on anything stronger than that. That was strong right there, boy. Listen, I appreciate your time again.
Thank you. It's
a true honor, and I'm completely blessed. I know you blessed a lot of people today by giving them some insight.
Thank you.
I definitely appreciate you. And
thank you so much. I appreciate you as well. This was fun. You know, I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So folks, if you got value on this live, make sure that you go ahead and like and share it. Do a watch party. Well, I don't know if you can still do a watch party. I don't know how that works. But you can share. I know you can press share and it'll go, and then you can let other people get this information, because this was a powerful session. And again, Sakinah, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Have a great day, guys.
You too.